Hello, Hearties. Hello, friends. Look, Allie's back and she's with us. And we're very appreciative. And we promise that we will let you go in time for when you have to go, even though we might want to keep you. And Kathy's here too. Like, oh, yeah, Kathy's here too.
Gee, thanks.
And we're excited. We're so excited to talk and chat. How are you doing, Allie?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys? I know it's later for you, so thank you for meeting me a little later for you.
No, we love it. Love it. So, I thought we would kick off getting some perspective since we've got a writer here. Elizabeth was on not too long ago. Elizabeth Stewart, she was lovely and she shared some stuff with us. And one of the things I wanted to hear from your point of view is how are writers assigned storylines and episodes? Like, does someone know ahead of time? Well, Allie, you're going to take this one and you're going to take that, or does it evolve organically? Can you?
So it kind of we sort of know ahead of time what episodes we'll be writing. So we have like the assignment of the episode. So at the start of season, I knew I was going to be writing episode 6. We didn't know necessarily what episode 6 was going to be yet
Got
when
it.
we're first meeting to break the episodes out.
Right, right.
Um, and then we all like, so this is like early on when the writers room first meets, and we take all the characters and the whole story arc, and we start talking and we start mapping out sort of how it's going to look and where we want the characters to end up, where they started, where they were last season. And then we all come with pitches, and sometimes we'll pitch on certain characters. Like sometimes, we're like, you know what, I've been thinking about this character on the break, or I went back and rewatched and I picked up on something. And, so sometimes you might come with a storyline or a pitch that and you end up carrying through. And
Hmm.
sometimes someone else's pitch it ends up in your script. So it's really collaborative at the beginning, and we sort of map it all out together. And we beat out, when we say we beat, we give like the story points of each storyline we want to do, and we figure out, try to balance it so that, there's enough of everybody in each episode. Or if
Mhm.
we have to do a little focus, if maybe there's a focus on somebody for one episode, and then maybe the next episode we can even it out with the other people that were less in that episode that we had to focus on. So it's just a lot about balancing and mapping, and that's really collaborative. So all the writers kind of work together, and so when you go off to write your own episodes, it's really well thought out, and you have your outline and your plan of how you're going to write it. But we've all worked together as a whole story room to figure that out. So
So,
it's collaborative.
Roxanne asked about the storylines, the writers doing the storylines. You've been talking about the episodes. So, when you're assigned episode 6, does
Yeah.
that mean you write the entire thing, or do you write just specific storylines for
We write
characters within that episode?
We write the whole episode,
Mm.
Okay.
but we kind of map out the storyline beats through the whole season, so we'll know, this happens to Elizabeth in episode 1. These parts of the storyline. So we know this happens, and this happens. And the person that's writing episode 1 takes that and takes those 3 parts, and then the person that's writing episode 2 can actually start episode 2 because they know what the person in episode 1 is taking and where they're picking up, and they know where they're leaving it. And then the person that's writing episode 3 picks up there, and then of course we all go off and write our drafts. And then I think when Beth was on, she explained this as well, that we write a few drafts on our own, and then we bring it to the room and we all rewrite together and we give notes. So
Yeah.
it's collaborative when we all write together on everything. So we're always writing and we're always working together and we're noting each other. So it's really every episode you see is a team effort from all of the writers.
Do you ever get feedback from the actors that, like, does the actor who does Henry go, Henry would never say that, or?
Yeah, the actors are really, so it goes through many stages. We go through production, and production will give us notes, and then actors will give us notes, and really great. Like that's part of the fun of writing TV, is that it's so collaborative, and there's so many points of view and so many perspectives. And a show like this where everyone has been working on it for a long time, especially our actors who've been some of these people have been playing the characters for like 10 years. They've
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
on since season 1, so they know the characters so well. So they'll come in and they'll say, you know, not always like, oh, we'd never say this, but they might say, I think they'd say something more like this. Or, I went back in season 1, I had this, and they bring something else up and they bring it to the line.
Oh, how
Um,
fun.
and so, yeah, it's really collaborative, and it always makes it better.
So it's a lot. I envisioned it to be a lot, but I didn't realize how much you have to rely on each other because everybody has a different voice when they write.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, in order for everything to mesh, it must be a collaboration. Are we allowed to know how many writers, like on average, there are per season? Like,
Yeah, I think it's usually about 6, and
oh wow,
then this past season we had 7.
okay,
So yeah, it's quite a few people kind of together, and but we do joke once we get in the vibe. Once we start writing scripts, we're like we're hive mind. We start working together as
yeah, yeah,
one,
yeah,
um, and then you can tell like when we kind of find our
Groove?
jive
Yeah, yeah,
in the room, because the first couple weeks we're just mapping out stories and everyone's coming with pitches, and it's
yeah.
just like a lot of voices, a lot of excitement, and then we kind of figure out what it is we really want to say, what we're picking up, what we're carrying, what we want the themes to be of this season, and it really like hits its groove, and we work together, and that's when it hits its flow, hits its groove.
Now, I have a question. When you wrote under how many showrunners? I know there was John Tinker for last season, and you were there. Were you there for another showrunner? Because now we have another
Yeah,
showrunner
so
again.
I've only been 2 showrunners. So I did 2 seasons with John Tinker when season 8 and season 9, and
Right.
then Lindsay Sturman started in season 10, and she's carried over into season 11 as well.
So this is really a question for them, but as part of their team, do they sit down and meet all of you so you could kind of like, it's like when I get a new principal, they kind of meet with us, and you know how it is. Oh, well, that's not the way mom did it, or that's not the way we did it. Like, do you go through that? Like, do they sit down and say this is what we're going to do, and there are differences between the two? Or is it more like the showrunner is getting feedback from the writers because you've been there for so long? Or is it a combo?
I think it's a bit of a combo. Like, usually showrunners will come in with visions and ideas and excitement, and it kind of revitalizes every time there's someone new. Even new writers can do that as well. Um, but a lot of the time they'll sit down and talk with, Derek's been on the show since season 2, so Derek's insight, he's been through many showrunners, and then Beth's been on the show since season 5. So there has been some stability in the writers, even if we've had a
Oh
lot of
yes.
showrunners.
Yes, 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 yes.
Um, so they like, I've seen people really respect that as well. I will say when Lindsay came on, she sat us down and we each picked some of our favorite episodes, and we watched them together as a group,
Oh.
to kind of talk about what we really liked and why we really liked this part. And it could be favorite for many reasons. Maybe it's just how it all ended up coming together, or sometimes it's behind the scenes stuff that sort of made it what. But we all brought in certain things that we wanted to show of what we thought about the show, what we liked about the show, and we kind of watched it. So each person had 2, and then since we had 3 new writers for season 10, we sat down with them and kind of showed what we really liked, and we talked it out, and we talked the episodes over with our new writers and our new showrunners. So yeah, it kind of depends on how they want to do it and how much time we have. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool take on coming into the show
Yes.
and sort of figuring it out.
I like that. That's really, really
Yeah.
nice. Cool. Well, it's fun for us as viewers to see all that goes into it, because we don't realize when we're just watching the show all that goes into just one episode. It's like pretty amazing. And we've been learning along the way. So I appreciate it even more. I put Christina's comment up, and she's like, wow, so much goes into it. Thanks for sharing that. And
It's a labor of love. Every
yes,
episode really is a labor of love, and so it's a labor of love for so many people. So everything you see, every episode you see, like, so many people have come in and put so much thought and so much love into it. Um, so that's what we try to do, at least every episode.
it
Do
shows.
you do you have a preference for the style of writing? And I mean by that, do you prefer doing the comedy, the humorous stuff, or the adventure, or the more of the drama?
Well, that's something I really like about this show, is that you kind of have it all. I like to be able to go into each thing. Like, sometimes it's really fun to write the comedy scenes, and sometimes it's really fun to write like something that's really heartfelt and emotional and sometimes cathartic as well. So I like that there's so much diversity in what you can write on the show. It's part of what I like so much about writing it. So I like all of it.
Yeah, I that was one of the things I was saying. The episode that you wrote, because we're asking general questions, but the episode that you wrote, episode 6, not the one that aired this Sunday, we know, but I know you know, but I'm saying for the general group that's here, it was the episode prior to that. I loved it. I just I was like, sometimes I was laughing like Flo and Molly tasting the, behind the can Minnie with the tasting of the barbecue sauce. And then there was all that seriousness, like the scene between Elizabeth and not Elizabeth, I'm sorry, between Rosemary and Faith, like that killed me. Like I was
Yeah.
like a motherless mother. I was like, oh my gosh, like did you research that? Did you who thought of that? That's it's true. A
Yeah.
motherless mother is a true thing.
It's a real, it's a real, yeah, it's a real thing that people go through.
Yeah.
It came from Lindsay Storman, our new showrunner. She really, it's something that she had heard about. She actually read a book that's called Motherless Mothers by Hope Edelman,
Okay.
which is a great book. She had us read it in the room as well,
Oh, wow.
um, to kind of, and it really talks about how that can affect you. And, you know, Lindsay, when she had read it and heard about it, it really changed her perspective quite a bit. And she brought it to us. And it's something you don't really hear talked about that much on TV.
No.
I've never seen it. But it does, and it sometimes even like exactly like what happened with Rosemary, it could be someone who lost their mother quite young and they don't feel the feelings come up until they become mothers themselves. And then all of a sudden they're reprocessing or they're processing things they haven't processed before. So it was a really interesting read, to kind of see the perspective and the psychology of that. And I thought it was a really cool take on something that you don't always see, but it does affect so many people and a lot of people can relate to it. um, so yeah, I found the storyline. I was really honored to be able to write
Yeah.
on it, and watching the scene of Faith and Rosemary and just seeing the way Pascal and Andrea did that, I felt honored to be able to write for them because it was just an incredible scene.
I know, and at the same time, Andrea was pregnant, and
I
like,
know.
yeah, I was like, oh, it was beautiful. So we went from laughing to like, it was like, is that on purpose? Do you say let's do this, or does it kind of happen? Do you purposefully try? I think you kind of answered this a
It's a
few
bit
minutes.
of a yeah, it's
Yeah,
a bit of a balancing act. We want
yeah,
to make sure that we're touching everything because we want definitely to be able to talk about some heavier things, but in true Hope Valley fashion, we want it to be a safe place, and make
yes,
sure that you also have moments where everyone's feeling good and people are laughing, so that it's not just an hour. Because people watch the show, it's an escape for a lot of people. Don't want
yes.
to have like an hour of it feeling heavy. You want some lightness too to help carry you through the scenes that are heavier.
I have a question. Actually, I have two questions, and I don't want to forget one of them.
Go ahead.
So, when you write the episode, do you actually write the storylines in the order in which they're going to show on TV? Like, the first scene is going to be Minnie and Joseph, and the second scene is going to be, Elizabeth in the classroom, or do you just write the different storylines and then the other folks put it together in the order they want it in?
No, we plot it out. So we write it completely in order as you see it. I mean, sometimes it changes around in editing where we'll write it one draft of it and then we see, this act might be a little heavier. Maybe we can move one of these funnier scenes from act 2 up into act 1 to kind of bring it lighter. But we usually take a run each time, each draft at just telling the story consecutively as it's going to play, like scene to scene to scene as you'd see it on TV.
Hmm.
And I've been dying to ask this. So in episode 6, they showed a picture of
Yes,
um,
Pascal.
Rosemary's
Goldie,
mom. Was
Goldie.
that actually Pascal and they doctored the photo? Was it really Pascal's mother and you doctored the photo? How did you do that?
It's really Pascal's face on the photo of that kind of existed of that time, of a woman
Yeah,
from that
Okay.
time, and they put Pascal's face, they edited into it to,
yeah.
kind of give the
Illusion.
look of Marigold. Yeah, so that's really Pascal. Good eye.
And I love where did the name, like, who said we're going to name her Marigold? Like, where did that come from?
So Goldie came first. It's
Right.
actually a family. So we spent lots of time talking about what Rosemary's baby and then her mother. Once we knew that storyline was going to be her mother, so we
Yes.
knew it was going to be connected. It had to be a name that was big enough for the both of them.
Mhm.
And so we all had pitches. We all came up with some ideas. Goldie is a family name of our new showrunner, Lindsay's. And so she was talking, she felt really like she liked Goldie. It was big, bright. And then we had sort of talked as well that we were hoping for something sort of floral, something connected Rosemary-like. So when she wanted Goldie and we were kind of trying to make it work, Marigold came up in a way that would sort
Cool.
of fit everything. And then
Cool.
we're like, of course she would have a nickname because, you know,
Yeah.
we have Rosie from
Yeah.
Rosemary, that we wanted her mom to sort of have that
Cool.
larger than life flair as well with her name. So that's where Marigold came from.
I love it. I love it. Jan, I put this up because it was kind of like what you were discussing. So I put this up that Jan was asking or commenting. She says, so before the beginning of the season, how is it determined how many episodes there will be? Is that something when calls the heart the production gets to decide, or is that more like what Hallmark says? I was curious.
It usually comes from Hallmark, the network. We usually get what it's going to be. If, you know, I think in the past, I haven't been on a season where they had a Christmas movie, but sometimes you know, it's been
Yes.
a Christmas movie and 10 episodes or 12 episodes.
Mhm.
And so it's always predetermined for from the network, and then we come in knowing how many episodes it would be. So then when we break out the storylines, we know, you know, if it's going to be a season long storyline, it's going to be 12 parts. You know,
Gotcha.
each episode is going to have a certain amount of the storyline in it, and then we try and balance it out and figure out how we want to tell that story and in how many episodes.
That was a good question, Jan. Thank you for that.
Mm.
I one more before we move on. Christine, this is interesting. She says, does the writer ever act out the script to see if you feel it will carry out the way you've planned it as you're writing it? That's funny.
We do sometimes read it in like almost like a reader's theater sort of thing to get the flow. To
Right,
make
right,
sure, like if it, we don't always do every scene, but sometimes if there's scenes where a lot of stuff's happening, like
right.
when Rosemary was giving birth, like the labor scene in the street when she goes into labor, there's so many moving parts of that. I remember doing a read through of that scene just to make sure it was flowing correctly. And so our showrunner kind of led that, and she would bring some of us writers in, and then she would assign us who we were going to read, and we'd read through to make sure it went. But we are not actors, none of us.
No, no, I get
So
it.
yeah.
Do you ever, after you write the dialogue and then you see how it played out on TV? I don't know if you watch it while they're actually filming or just watch the finished product, but do you ever feel like that isn't what I had in mind? That isn't the, you know, the way I thought they delivered that line? Or do you ever have
I
moments
find
like that?
sometimes I am surprised with the delivery, and it makes like I think it's better. I always think it's better. I watch it and I'll laugh like, and they ad lib sometimes. So I love watching the cuts. We watch dailies. So that's
Hmm.
what they film each day and then it gets uploaded. So we watch the dailies and then we also watch episode cuts as they're editing it. And then I always watch it live too whenever I can. And I always find myself noticing something else or catching something or that I didn't see before, or something that was unscripted that the actor threw in or the director threw in. And it's always really fun. I love it. I love catching something and because, you know, you want to enjoy it too as a viewer, and
Sure,
I always can.
sure.
So yeah, there was even moments in episode 6 that just made me laugh um, when I was watching the dailies and the cuts because I was not expecting it. It was a surprise for even me.
I like that,
Do you
especially when
ever,
the director gets in there with his or her own little
yep,
twist, you know?
interpretation, yeah.
Yeah.
Do
What were you
you
gonna
ever incorporate the actor's own uh, bits of their personality or quirks or any special, you know, things about them? Do you ever incorporate that or think about that as you're doing the dialogue for writing the dialogue
Well,
for the
sometimes
scenes?
usually it will come in earlier in the season, like when we're starting to think of storylines. I know Lindsay and John both talked to actors ahead of time before we were going to break the story, and we'd
Yeah.
sort of bring their perspective in and see if there's anything they were hoping to see or storylines they, you know, felt really passionate about. I've always seen that they do talk to the actors because, again, a lot of these actors have been playing these characters for many years, so it's always good to have their perspective, and it's great that they all want to be as involved as they are. So yeah, we're really lucky.
Mhm. This episode I called it the smoochy episode because there was so much smooching. Every time they saw each other, even if they just, I'm not talking big passionate kisses, but just like kiss to say hi and kiss to say goodbye, which I love because we didn't see a lot of that for whatever reason. And that one, your episode was like filled with it. And I didn't know if that's just your personality of how you think Lucas and Elizabeth would be, or if it was like a purposeful thing. They were like, this is the part of the storyline where they'll be a little more affectionate. I don't know if it was an accident.
I think it can be tough because sometimes, when there's other storylines happening or more
Sure.
serious storylines, it's not always the place for
Mhm.
some of the lovey-dovey sort of stuff.
Yes, yes.
But again, we know at the heart that this show's a romance. So whenever we can get a
Mhm.
kiss in, we try.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the goal. We always want to make sure that there's some romance. And even though there was some more heavier storylines in Rosemary's Grief storyline, it was a lighter episode for Lucas and Elizabeth because
It
they were
was.
focusing on some of the kids storylines, and even though it was a problem, it wasn't as serious of a problem. So they just had more room to be around each other and be light. It just allowed that to happen. So once we knew what the storyline was and that it would be appropriate, we put in the kiss where it could be. Yeah.
Okay, I
Are
love
there
it.
any special challenges in writing for the kids, the little kids like Hyman?
Oh, yeah. So I think like we have many kids now, and some of them have grown. Like I really liked in this episode that we could see some of the kids sort of having a story like Allie and Angela and Cooper and Toby
Mhm.
kind of got to sort of do some stuff on their own,
Hmm.
which is really cool that they're growing up enough to kind of have their own storylines with Highland. And then of course like we even have like an infant actor in season 10 playing Goldie. um, so it can be a little tougher. Highland is getting a little older, so he's kind of understanding a little more of
Mhm.
the pretend of it versus
The real.
real life. Yeah. But yeah, it can be tough, but it's more just really fun. You want to make sure that it's a storyline that they can have fun with and they can play with, and that it's play pretend. You just don't want to ever put too much of a heavy storyline on a little kid unless it's really necessary. We are seeing Highland really this season start to pick up some bigger storylines, like in episode 4 when he's
Yes,
talking about his dad. I think
I
he
know.
killed it. It was so good.
Hmm.
Watching it every time, he
The
just does
hat.
such a good
Oh,
job with the Mountie hat.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so good. So he's such a good little actor that
He
it's really fun
is.
to write for him because
He's
he's just
amazing.
growing into the role so well.
Do you know what I find amazing is the little infant actress, that baby. At first I was like, is there ever a time that it's not the baby? That it's one of those dolls that looks so much like the baby? I don't know. Or you're not allowed to say.
So I will say the baby is actually an actor. He's a
Yeah.
boy,
Oh, it's a
because
boy?
at that point in time, you just
It
when you're
doesn't matter.
casting somebody, you just
Yes,
want to make sure
yes.
that whoever the child actor is just whoever's most comfortable with the actors that are going to play the parents, because
Okay.
you want babies that are going to be comfortable on set and comfortable around the parents that are going to be holding them.
Yeah.
And I think, oh my gosh, we lucked out so much with that baby. He was 9 days old in the
He's
first scene.
yeah.
Wow.
Um, and the little wave, unscripted. He was improvising even when he did the little wave in episode 4. Um, so yeah, whenever the babies, obviously babies can't work that long.
Yeah.
So if it's just a pram, if they're just pushing,
Mhm.
obviously we don't, it's usually a doll. They put the doll in when the baby's moving. If you don't need the baby
Okay.
actor, because the baby's so young and they have reduced hours. So if we don't need to see the baby on camera, we don't usually use the baby just so the baby's not working that long.
The
How do
baby.
you even find the, I'm sorry, Roxanne.
No, I'm just saying the baby's gorgeous. That's all I
Yeah,
was saying. Go
yeah.
ahead.
How do you even find the baby? I mean, do you do an open casting call for a newborn? I mean,
Well,
That's
we do work with our casting team to find it. We really lucked out with this baby because this baby is actually the child of actors who have been background performers on our show before, so they were
okay.
familiar with the show, sort
okay.
of knew the environment. But
Nice.
yeah, usually they are cast and they meet more like the the audition process for a baby is a lot less than like an audition, more like just a comfort test to see if the baby's, okay on the set environment and with the actors that are going to be interacting with the baby.
Okay.
Pascal's all over that baby. It's like
We
that
were
baby.
all so excited. I mean, it's most fun when it's like the baby casting and we just get all these pictures of babies and everyone's just like,
Oh.
let me see all the baby pictures. Kind of also like when they cast Scout too, the puppy casting as well.
And the puppy dog, Scout's real name is Scout. I wanted to have
Yeah.
Scout on, but I can't find Scout's info. I'm like, I want to have Scout, on and we want to meet Scout, but
Well, Scout's working right now. He's on our
yeah,
show.
yeah, I know. He might have a Monday off at night.
Yeah, he's a very good dog actor as well.
Aw, he's a cutie.
Yeah.
Now, I know you have this whatever book binder, whatever, what logged in your brain, files on the computer, whatever it is, of all the little not minor, well, minor, major, every little detail, which I love. Thank you for that because we see it pop up all the time, just little things. So, do we have access to like birthdays, background of who their mother, father was, that kind of stuff? And then that's how eventually it comes out?
So I try actually with the Bible to keep track of everything that the audience knows. So the
Okay.
Bible is to keep track of everything that's ever been said on the
Yeah.
show or shown on the show. So I will pause and read through and make sure we have pictures of any kind of articles and stuff that were shown. We keep track of all that stuff. Anything that has appeared
Ooh.
on screen goes in the Bible, so that we can keep track of what we've shared because then we know what we can develop.
Mhm.
So if we're thinking about storylines, if there's something that hasn't really been talked about, and the audience, we want to make sure that we're not giving conflicting information to the audience, and we're remembering information we already gave them about something. So it's keeping track of everything that has been said or shown on screen, so that we're keeping track of everything that the audience knows too, so that the world stays as big as it is. And when we grow the world, we can expand on it. So starting obviously in season 10, we didn't have much information about Rosemary's mom. But
Oh,
the fact that there was nothing about it was enough that I was going, what's happening with Rosemary's mom? I feel like that's room that we can expand because we haven't shown very much. I think she's spoken about twice in the
right.
series, very small little things that Rosemary shares about her mom. So it became, since there was that gap, that blank space, it became something we could expand upon. Um, and we have little parts of that in the Bible. So the Bible, we keep track of things that everyone, all Hearties, would know.
So this is why we're good partners. We share a brain. So you just talked about the Bible, and that's to track and make sure that it's consistent what we, the Hardys, have seen. What about the future? Is there a meeting, or how do they let you know?
You don't have to
I
tell
guess
us.
prior to the season,
I update the Bible
we're
with
going
what you're
into
going to see as well. Yeah.
we're going into
Oh,
1920. How will
Yeah.
Hope Valley change, or what's different in this season because we've gone forward a year or so? You know what I mean?
So I have the Bible, that's, the Bible that I keep that's like what has aired.
Hmm.
And then we have also I update it with each season and I keep track of everything as we plot it and it goes in, it gets jotted in and I put it usually in a different color. And then if it's like, okay, concrete, this was shot, it's locked, it's in the cut, it's going to air, then it goes black into the regular Bible. It's like permanent, but we put it in, slotted in so we can keep track of where it's landing through the season as well.
Okay.
And then we usually have a spreadsheet for each character, and that has their storylines and their emotional arcs as well that we keep track of. And as things change or get shifted, sometimes out of our control, sometimes weather, or I mean, if you look at the COVID years, like sometimes
mhm.
things just change that we can't control.
Sure,
And so
sure.
storylines end up not happening or they have to change a bit. And then we'll track that all the way through to make sure it's consistent.
Well, it sounds like it must be global. Like this season, we're going to be in 1923, for example, and so they have to, that would apply to the clothing, the folks that do the
Yeah.
costumes, and the props, because now you've got radios and such, and all
I
that.
love
That's
that. I
interesting.
love it.
Say it
Yeah.
again.
But the radio's so pretty looking
Yes,
too.
I
Like it's
love
just
it.
super
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
I love it. We had a radio like that in our family for
Oh
years.
yeah.
Yeah, I love when things like that pop up and they put those little pieces of, I don't know, information there. I think it's, I don't know. Like,
It adds
remember,
to the realism of it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that so much. Um, Last season, season 9, I'm looking at a question and I wanted to ask it. I'm not gonna put it up. So you wrote the scene for the birthday scene with Elizabeth and Lucas? Is that you who wrote?
That was my episode. Yeah.
Gosh, I loved it. You're good at writing romance. You really are. You
Again,
are.
it's a team effort, though, I will say.
Okay. Okay.
Everybody works on everything together. I
Yeah.
like the romance side of it, but we all work together, and that's part of why when you see, you're like, "Oh," it's because lots of minds go into it, lots of hearts go into it. So when you see something on screen, it's a labor of love from all of us. So we hope that you feel that way when you watch it.
So we do. I do. And when Elizabeth was on, or you call her Beth, when she
Oh,
was
sorry,
on,
yeah. I think
no,
she's
that's
professional. She
okay.
goes by Elizabeth.
No. It's okay. So we don't get confused. When she was on, she was saying that they're trying, or you're trying, and it's always a goal, but you're really trying to show the relationships as being real. Where we were talking about how Lucas does a surprise all over again, yet Elizabeth, the character, knows he's supposed to know that she doesn't like big surprises. And we're like, why would you fall back? And she goes, but isn't that human nature that you do fall back? And I was like, yeah, you're right. It is human nature. And are you really conscious of that? Are you like thinking if a character falls back on how they behaved or something? Like with Henry, I truly thought that Henry was ready to go and dive in, but here Henry is still struggling. And I'm surprised by that. So is it because like in real life you just don't get over something that fast? Is that what we're
And
trying
I
to portray?
we're trying to show too that it's like things sometimes take time and you can
Yes.
make steps forward, and
Yes.
that doesn't those steps forward aren't taken away if you take a step back. You still took the step forward. It's kind of what
Okay.
we want to show. It's all part of it. And
Yeah.
so with Henry, for example, he's having these times where he's showing this growth and we're seeing him really happy and he's bonding with community, but still seeing someone like Rosaline, who we just saw, that still brings him back because
Yes.
he still has parts of it that he's dealing with. So we want to make sure to keep some of those, um, for lack of a better word, wounds open for him because that's how it really would be. Not everything doesn't heal at once. Things take time. Some things heal at different paces. So we're just trying to be really cognizant of the fact that our characters are human and we want to let them be human and grow.
Okay.
In real life, it would take Henry years of therapy, I think, to
Yeah.
get over all the trauma in his life and to finally, you know, value himself and love himself. So absent that, I think the best you can do is show him taking the 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Yeah.
The actor portrays that so
So
beautifully.
good.
He's if you look at the arc from season 1 to now, I mean, it's just brilliant acting.
Yeah, it is. Oh my God, he is an outstanding actor.
Yeah.
He really is.
And
Janice,
next week, episode 8, just hold on. There's some really great Gowan scenes that
oh
we
my,
all were like, so
all right, I'm excited. I'm so excited for it. Because I love his character so much. I do recipes sometimes, and I did an O. Henry recipe dedicated to him. It's like a Sunday, and I did all the different O. Henrys we had last season over him because I love him so much.
He doesn't just act out the role of Henry, he inhabits the role. He
Yeah.
becomes Henry. I mean,
really, yeah.
physically, he I don't know how he does it, but I think he changes his height. you know,
Yeah.
he does this walk that is the Henry walk, and I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure Martin didn't walk like that. And
No, he doesn't. He
it's
does not.
fabulous. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's he's not forgetting. I mean, the fact we've seen Gowan go through a lot. I mean,
Mhm.
we saw Gowan go over a cliff in a car
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
Yep, almost
So
die. Yeah.
yeah, almost died, and he doesn't forget any of those parts of Gowan, and neither do we. We try and keep track of everything that's happened with
I
Gowan.
hope he finds his happiness with himself, acceptance, and happiness maybe somewhere down the road. Maybe he'll find some romance. I don't know.
He's on a very interesting journey, and I just am gonna say, wait until the end. That's all I can
Okay.
say.
I love that. I love that.
Okay.
Jan is saying the Bible sounds more like the size of an encyclopedia.
It's so
Seriously,
big.
how many volumes is the Bible now?
It's so big. I think we're at like almost 500 pages of it.
Oh, wow.
It's so big. It like I share it with people and they're like, Allie, this document crashed my computer. It's so big. You didn't warn me how big it is. When someone new starts on the show, we
Yeah.
have new writers. I always share it, and they're like, Allie, and I'm like, this is the show. There's all these details and all of that. All of it is a part of the show, and I feel really protective of it because all those little pieces are all the little labors of love of each episode that have come together from before my time, and hopefully it'll continue after.
We could talk to you forever and ever. I know we have limited time. I'm going to ask a question, and if you can't, and it's sort of like a spoiler type question, and if you can't answer it, just say I can't answer it, okay? And we're not catching you up because
Yeah.
I'm curious too. Someone's asking about Toby. Will we find out more about Toby's background as the season goes on?
A little more about Toby as the season goes on. We want to
Okay.
continue to kind of grow him, sort of the way we did with some of the other Hope Valley kids,
Okay.
because we've had some kids come and go, and we've had a couple kids graduate. So we just sort of wanted to the fill out the school a little more, and like some of the other characters, we're excited to sort of see piece by piece of the character. But I really love Toby. I think he's a great addition.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I
Wait a minute.
just,
What are you laughing about, Kat?
something just hit me.
What?
No, it's
You
my own
can't share.
speculation.
Okay. Okay. All
Okay.
right. Hold on to that. We're not going to put Allie under
Yeah.
fire here. We won't. We'd never do that. That's the extent of spoiler.
Yeah.
We have a comment here. Does Lucas like coffee or not? That was a question. Do we know if he likes coffee or not?
We know he loves tea.
We know
He's a
he
tea
loves
person. He's a tea person, and actually, he said in season 9 and
when they're
the
camping.
last episode when they're camping that he is not really a coffee person. He's a tea
Yes.
person.
Yes.
I'm a
And
tea person too.
me too. Now, this, I love this. Martha's saying, kudos to the writers for giving Hickam more scenes. I have to tell you that I crack up laughing
I
when
was
Ben and Chris and Aaron have to share a scene together because they have this great chemistry and the eye like looks that they give each other. And then I love when it's just Chris and Ben. Their chemistry is amazing. Those two characters have like some kind of great comedic timing. And I don't know if the actors realize that or not, but kudos
They do.
to
They're really fun. They have a fun dynamic, and it's just growing as the
yes.
season goes on, and as the series goes on. It's just growing. I have to say, we did not realize how small the booth was when we were. So I have to say, I did cry. That was something that cracked me up when they're all squished into the
Yes.
booth
Yeah. She's like,
together because the booth is new to the season and we hadn't gotten to
yes.
be on set yet. So writing them, oh, they're all in the booth, and then it ended up being even funnier than we anticipated it being because the booth was quite small. So they're like, oh, the booth is going to be small, though it's going to be a bit of a squeeze, and we're like, that adds to it. Yeah, that's great.
I thought it was
So
great.
was it episode 6 where Hickam shared that he works out, he does calisthenics?
yes, and then we saw that also in season
Did you
7
write
or
in
episode
that
7.
Chris gives him the look?
That was improvised from Chris. I think it's so funny. That was something else that caught me and made me laugh. But yeah, no, the calisthenics was something we talked about. One of our new writers to season 10, who wrote episode 5, Ayla, she had done a little research about the calisthenics, and so that was kind of a pitch she came in with, and that she was really excited about, and it was actually really fun. So even in the episode that just aired, you get to see Hickam doing one of his classes of the calisthenics as well.
Yeah. Now it's funny. We asked for her to come on, but she wasn't.
She's WGA. She's
She
WGA.
they said that. They said, "Oh, we're not
Yeah.
sure." And I was like, "Okay, open invitation if it ever changes." I thought it was interesting because I saw her title had shifted. Like her title was story editor, and I wasn't quite sure what that meant. And then I saw she actually wrote an episode. So I was like, "Oh, how do you graduate and get to?" I thought that would be neat just to
So
see
we
what
are
she
all
say.
story editors usually in the
Okay.
room. That's sort of our titles as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, she just started with us in season 10, and she's fantastic. But she's WGA, so obviously we're honoring the
Yes.
strike. I'm here because I'm Canadian. I'm not
Yes.
part of WGA. I'm part of WGC, so my union's not on strike. That's why I can appear. But yeah, the down in the States, the Actors Guild and the Writers Guild are on strike, so members of those unions are not able to promote at this time.
Which we get. Someone had asked a question about, and it's not just When Calls the Heart, it's also The Way Home. Someone was asking a question about how is it that you can still be filming? And when I was talking to one of the Hallmark publicists, they said Hallmark themselves is not making a statement about that. However, Brian Bird for When Calls the Heart did, where the other show, they're not making any kind of statement at all. I'm not saying this for you, Allie. I'm saying this for our guests that are here. So people get a little confused as to what's going on, and we'll address that, afterwards when we're finished, because it's almost time for you to go, and I don't want to make you late to wherever you have to be.
I'm meeting my family for dinner, so they'll
All
be
right.
like,
So
come
you're
on.
going to dinner. We would love for you to stay forever and ever. We appreciate so much that you were here to share all this wonderful, juicy
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for having me. And
Yes.
I didn't know. I think we got all your questions, but
We
I
did.
can probably have like 5 more minutes if you
No,
need
we
anything
did.
else.
You're good. Tell your
Okay,
mom
great.
to join us on Thursday if she ever has a chance.
Yes. Tell
I
her about
will,
the
yeah.
Puppy Doyle.
I totally will. She'll be so excited.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you guys so much for
Take
having
care.
me.
Good
Enjoy
night.
your dinner.
You
Good
too.
night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right. Hello, Miss Kathy.
Oh, sure. Now you got time for me.
Do you want to be far away or do you want to be up close? What do you want to do?
For the sake of our viewers, I might need to be far away. Do you remember that line from Tootsie?
Yes.
Pull back the camera until she's attractive.
Yeah.
How far back? How about New Jersey?
They're all saying thanks to Allie, and I'm sure she'll look at that. Okay, I have to do something that you're not supposed to do, but no, I was going to say, I got to pick up my pen, but I'll just let my pen go because it fell down. So, friends, they're all saying thanks to Allie. She's amazing. So, friends, you have lots of questions in here that we did not address because we cannot address them. We are not addressing certain things with our guests on purpose because they can't talk and about it, but we can. So we'll talk about it now. All right. Anybody need to go get a drink? I didn't do a game this week just because I forgot, and Kathy didn't remind me, and it's her job to remind me.
Oh my. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's not her job ever. She's always reminding me of junk all the time. All right. So I'm just.
Gather everyone loved last night's episode.
Oh.
Cover it. Wow. Consensus.
All right. Let's just start right. I want to just look at some of these comments before we dive in. Lisa, just curious why every single post I'm reading these days are people that are disappointed in this season. It seems like they're spreading out so many storylines rather than just allowing Elizabeth. And I think you got cut off, but Lisa, we know where you're going with this. We get it. I'm going to take it off just so we can move down. Here she is up here. To be the main character. This week they had Nathan and Faith as a doctor, Lee getting used to being a father, Molly's daughter coming back, the scholarship, the radio, Bill and his new crush.
Elizabeth is a main character, but so are Bill and Nathan and Lucas and Faith. She's not the centerpiece of the show. She is a main character and the star, but it's an ensemble show. And that has not changed since season 1.
No.
I'm not sure why, not just you, I forget who you just, not just you, Lisa, but a lot of folks seem to think that the show should revolve around Lucas and Elizabeth. And I kind of don't get that, because if it was just them, it wouldn't be When Calls the Heart. It would just be a soap opera.
One of the things that I found very interesting about last night's episode, and I know it's a hot topic, is the way they went about the relation. Okay, first of all, I feel like Nathan doesn't have a big romantic storyline. I feel like we're getting little bits of it, right? And it's sort of like this mystery. And I wonder why they are so mysterious about it. So if you think about this, here are 2 grown people having a conversation together. Faith, who's a doctor, and Nathan the Mountie. And, he wanted to walk her to her work, that they were going to have lunch together, and she's like, it's not working. I think it works for her. I think she loves him, or she's really, or let's just say she cares about
Likes
him.
him a lot. Yeah.
She does. And she wants it to work. We saw that last season when she had a crush on him. But for him, there's something, and she says there's something that's in the way. But if it was supposed to be Elizabeth that's in the way, she could have very easily said, you still have feelings for Elizabeth, or Elizabeth's in the way.
Yeah.
I don't
I don't think
really,
it's that.
I don't either. I think it is about what went down with Elizabeth. But then right away, everybody freaks out and everybody's like, oh my God, they're flipping the story. They're not flipping the storyline. I
No,
can bank
the
on that.
storyline is evolving. It's not flipping, and they're not going to go back to a triangle.
No,
That ain't
that's
happening.
no. And I wanted to share a picture that someone gave me. Someone said, "Oh, and then she looks at him when they're dancing." So she was excited.
She looked, she looked very happy. She
She
was
did.
like,
And I'm going to
"She
show
got
you,
somebody." Yeah.
someone screenshot that and sent it to me. And I want to show you that the look of happiness that's on her face when she's watching them dance. If you can all see this, someone screenshot this. That's her looking at him. I don't see
That's just
concern.
pure happiness.
That's her like, oh, look at
It's
them
not
kind of
sad.
face.
I want to be. There's none of that.
Yes. So, and people are like, oh, they're flipping it, they're doing this. And then all this argument starts. And I was like thinking to myself, that is over. It shocked everybody, all the writers, it shocked the showrunners, it shocked the actors, it shocked all of them about the reaction that the public had. And now, do you think that they would go and do that again? I mean, there would be people
No.
that would just leave then. They'd be done. They're
Yeah.
not, they're writers. They're moving the storyline. They're moving it in a realistic arc and way. And I know people are like, they're not romantic enough. They're not this and they're not. They will be, I think. They
There'll
just,
be more of that, but it can't be constant. Gee whiz, that would be exhausting, even with Lucas. It just people are they're trying to portray real people, and real people don't go around smooching,
you said
every
that
minute of every
before.
day after they've gotten through that initial, stage of, oh my gosh, we're in love and let's get married. Now they're down to dealing with real life stuff, and we'll see it. It's just not going to be in every single episode.
Nikki's saying, why are we not seeing more L&E scenes? Missing the conversations and the romance of season 9. Where are their kisses? Felt that Elizabeth was not nice when talking to Lucas about his new home dream. And I feel like we talked about that before, and I think that they'll revisit that. It was almost like a panic that she had, like a panic inside of her when she was.
I think they're starting it, not an arc necessarily, but I think
Yeah.
she is now dealing with the reality of, I'm getting married, but I also have to deal with little Jack and his feelings and questions about his dad. And I think it's bringing up stuff for her. It was like the same explanation she gave at the end of season 8 for her feelings for Nathan. And she said, I was, basically I was trying to channel Jack through you. So now I think this is the last step, or the last, issue related to Jack that she's going to have to deal with. But, the reality is setting in. I'm getting married again, and it's real, and I've really got to leave Jack behind now, but still somehow keep him alive in the memory and heart. Well, not memory, but in the heart of little Jack.
And when it comes to the relationship that Elizabeth's building with Nathan, they were always friends. They always talked a lot about Allie. They're, talking about each other. They have quite a bit in common, single parents, that kind of thing. I'm okay with their relationship because I still see her. I mean, she's in love with Lucas. I mean, all that beautiful scene on the bridge and everything. And last season, they just kissed and they had not gotten engaged yet. So their romance was still new and they were figuring each other out. And that's why it was so romantic, giddy, touchy feely and all that. And then he proposes, you know?
I tell you what, I would rather see them have conversations like a couple in love, like like an almost like an old married couple. I mean, where they just get each other and they have. I'd rather
Mhm.
see that than the smooches. The smooches are nice, but they've finally gotten to a place where we've wanted them to be since season 7. They're
Yeah,
together. They're a couple. They're a unit.
yeah.
They're intimate. I mean, there's such a thing as intimate conversation where
Mhm.
they're just talking amongst themselves about the wedding, about other things, about Lee and Rosemary and their baby and little Jack, and I'm loving it. I'm actually loving it.
So Deb had wanted me to ask Allie why there are so many Nathan and Elizabeth scenes and what's happened to Lucas and Elizabeth and not mention the wedding plans and all of that. We can't. That's a question that we can't ask because the when calls the heart people look at it as a way that we would stir the pot and cause arguments, and believe me, they are aware of what was all in social media last night. They saw it, and they just step away from it because it's, people already arguing and bickering and going cuckoo over all of it.
I
um
think didn't Aaron give an interview where she said there are going to be some bumps and
yes.
challenges in season 10, but all is going to be well. So I mean, I don't understand why people are freaking out. I do think just like Nathan had the secret he held for all of season 7 or 8, I can't remember now, but the fact that Jack went in his place and that's when he was killed. See, I think there's another backstory that they're about to introduce for Nathan. And I think whatever's holding him back that Faith referred to, I think we're going to learn more about it. And I don't know if maybe there was some other woman in his past that hurt him. I
Mhm.
don't know. I have no idea what it is. But I think that we're going to learn more about Nathan and his secrets as the season goes along.
I love when he said to her, "What's wrong with me?" And she's like, "There's nothing wrong with you." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And when I saw that scene, and then yet they go wind up dancing together, like they're
Yeah,
together. And she's like, "Well, friends could dance." There's more than they're just a friendship there. We already know that on Faith's side, there definitely is. And if it, like I said, if it truly was he can't get over Elizabeth, then they would have said that. I
there would be
feel
more
like there's
signals or cues of
something.
that.
Yes,
You
yes.
remember there was a scene where season 7, I think, where she and Lucas were dancing and she looked over and locked eyes with Nathan, and he just and left the you because he couldn't just deal with. There was none of that. I see nothing there but pure friendship.
Yeah, they were smiling and they're having there's a promo, close your ears if you don't want to know that, people, where Elizabeth and Nathan are having a conversation with iced tea or something, and they're talking about
Nice tea. Is he leaving Law and Order?
they're having some kind of a conversation, and he's talking about his feelings, and she's like, "Oh, you're done with love," and he's like, "Well, I don't," that kind of thing. So there's going to be another Nathan and Elizabeth scene coming up,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm looking forward to it because I'm wondering if there's going to be. And now I'm looking for little clues.
Hints.
I'm looking
Yeah.
for hints or clues as to what's coming.
Yes, what's
That's what I'm looking for.
down.
I would have no respect for Nathan as a character if he was still holding a torch for Elizabeth at this point. I mean, she's made herself clear. They've moved on. He doesn't seem at all bothered by their PDAs.
Mhm.
Lucas's relationship
He
with
teases
Jack.
them both.
Yeah, yeah, and he teases them, and he and Lucas, I think, have developed a friendship of sorts. So no, I don't think that is it, and I think you're going to see more Lucas and Elizabeth as we wind down to the end of season 10. And everybody may not like everything you see. They may argue. They may spat. Hello, that's what established couples do. We spent what 2 3 seasons hoping that they would become an established couple, and here they are, and they're not going to be locking lips every episode. Ain't going to happen.
Arlene had asked, are the writers aware of certain scenes being cut or deleted because sometimes these changes affect how the viewer perceives the episode? We asked Beth, which is Elizabeth, about this. And Elizabeth said they do. They look at the dailies, they see everything. So I am sure if something was so hacked up and it went to the wrong direction, it would affect the next episode, because they don't write the episodes on the fly. She just and I know people think that. People think, oh, at the last minute there was rumors, they were running, they changed, they're like, oh, we were going to go in this direction, we're going in this direction. That is not true. That is not even
Can't be
possible.
true. Can't be true.
The writers are not even there. The writers are back home in a writer's room that's virtual, and the actors are on set. It's not like you can pump it out and in a minute you're running and getting your script. There can be changes. I get that. Director might say things like that, but there is not an overall change because there's so much plotting. And when you do that, it affects the next person. So it would hack up the next person's storyline. It's very hard to write collaboratively with someone. Like,
much less a whole team of people.
You have a different voice. That's, I don't know if I said that to Allie on air, if I said that behind the scenes, but everybody has their own voice, and yet they have to be as consistent as possible. And what did she say? There's 7 writers this year.
Mhm.
And I don't know if she included or didn't include Lindsay because she's the showrunner. So, they are aware. They watch the dailies. They while they're filming, and they're aware of what's going on. So they do have a lot of say. Yeah. I loved Christina's idea about them acting it out, and then Allie comes to find out they kind of do it like a reader's workshop, because they don't do. When Calls the Heart doesn't do a reader's table where they all sit together and read out. So the actors apparently are doing it. Hi, Chelsea. It sounds like Lucas and Elizabeth's relationship is really being tested. I just watched a video somebody uploaded about season 11. Not sure where that person got the details. It sounds very serious.
How they made it up.
Let me talk about this. Chelsea, don't be offended. This is my teacher thing that comes out of me, and I love you. Don't be offended by this. Why do you people watch garbage like that? It annoys me. People who upload this kind of stuff is called clickbait, and they're going to get tens and tens of thousands of views, and they're going to make thousands of dollars off of that video. That is pure garbage.
And then everyone who shares the link, they're making even more money.
They should not be allowed. You should be reporting that stuff constantly. I don't know how that one channel is still on. Instead of getting all the views that it gets, all these people should be reporting that channel for false information, for stealing things from the shows. That hurts a show.
If it didn't come from Hallmark, it's not real.
No. And that's another thing. Hallmark, because someone was asking about who gets what, I forget who it was, asking about why When Calls the Heart gets the film. So let me say this. When Calls the Heart and even The Way Home are shows on Hallmark. Hallmark and their publicists are not making any statements. People will say stuff like, oh, I wish The Way Home would make an announcement like they made for When Calls the Heart. Technically, they're not going to, because they cannot, because they're honoring the strike. It wasn't Hallmark that made the announcement about When Calls the Heart. It was Brian Bird who chose to do that. And Brian Bird, he's a grown man. He knows what he's doing. But I was shocked because technically he's not allowed to promote at all because he's on strike. So whatever choice he decided to do, maybe he had an agreement somewhere along the line. He's the one that decided to make the announcement that they will be filming. Because if he didn't, they would have never said anything, because Hallmark's stand is to say nothing because of the strike.
And they're sure not talking about anything that might or might not be going on season 11. They're barely talking about season 10.
Yes. Yeah. Nikki wants to know, where are the wedding plans? Seen almost nothing about the wedding. Not sure I understand or like the new showrunner's vision for Lucas and Elizabeth this year. Can you help explain that? She will not. She would not say that. So here's why we would never do that to Allie. That's her boss. And this is their baby. And they all sat together to write. They have their vision, and we have to write it out and watch it. Nikki, let's talk about that. So Nikki's not wrong in when she's saying there wasn't much talk about the wedding. I feel like they're trying to just they're trying to show like that it's getting away from them. They talked about the cake, right? They talked about, I think in episode 1, Lucas asking about like about these different pieces, like wedding ideas, and then Elizabeth saying, "Could we elope?" Then when her family came, they talked about where it would be and all those details. They did talk with them again at that time, the wedding dress. I know they did the whole thing with the cake. And I know in this next episode, the wedding dress arrives, and there's some fun stuff with the wedding dress arriving.
I think they've been dealing with a lot of other storylines for the other characters and getting those in place or moved, off the plate because they're resolved. And they're going to focus more on, the whole town's going to be involved in, the wedding and the plans and such, as we wrap up the season.
Mm-hmm. Chelsea, from what they have revealed for the last 2 episodes, there won't be a wedding this season. I don't know what they revealed that would make us think that. I'm not saying I have special information to know that there would be one, but what is it that they revealed that would make us say no to it? I'm not sure. I know that they're supposed to have a fall wedding, right? And it's getting towards to be cooler out. They've talked about that. So, and it usually ends around fall anyway, each season.
There are folks out there in the When Calls the Heart universe who have a vested interest in just causing trouble, just trying to make other people miserable. And that's exactly what's happening, in my opinion. And, you look at again, if it doesn't come from Hallmark, it's irrelevant. It doesn't exist. And so people reading all these so-called promos and previews, they're not real. They're just not real. They show the show actually produces the what's happening next week because they want to pique your, like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? I got to watch this to check it out. It's all part of the same game. And I just wish you would trust us. There's nothing happening bad with Lucas and Elizabeth. They're not going to break up. They're not going to recreate the triangle.
So when you think about this, when you're looking at the storytelling and you're paying attention, like I said, so we've got a scene between Faith and Nathan where they're like, we still got to be in each other's lives because we like each other. And they got each other's jokes last season. It was cute. So they want to still be friends. I miss you. We need that friendship. Love it. Okay. And he doesn't come out and say, or she doesn't come out and say that there's something that's in between, causing an issue between them. And then the next time we see them, they're all hanging out and they're dancing. And, Elizabeth's very excited when he gets the music going on the radio. Lucas, well, he doesn't get it, but it happens. She runs over and gives him a cute little kiss and she wants to dance with him and they start dancing and she does that glance over. Now, the people who want the story to be flipped, who want her to say, oh, I'm not going with Lucas, I should have been with you, Nathan, all this time, are going to not pay attention. And in their mind, they saw her have a longingly look over because he was.
Do you remember what they saw in all those episodes in 6 and 7, 8? They all swore. They saw passionate looks.
Face.
Yeah.
That's the face. It's a big smile on her face. That's the face. Okay. So that's why you have to pay attention. Well, that's just my opinion. No, that is not an opinion. That is like you didn't really pay attention. You know what I mean? What's Miriam saying? I saw a preview about Elizabeth and Rosemary receiving the wedding dress in the mail. Came in a big box. Then there was comedy and they're trying to get it. And then I think Hickam walks. I don't want to give it away. He yells over to Lucas. Lucas is like, what? And they're trying to hide the box because Rosemary's being very dramatic. Elizabeth is not. It's funny. Chelsea is telling, I'm doing some scolding here to my very good friend who I love dearly, Christina. Christina, don't click that YouTube video because it's going to go towards them making thousands of dollars. Don't click it. Movie addicts is
where do movie addicts get?
Movie addicts is they should be reported and taken down. Let's see. Nikki's saying there were only 2 lip kisses and 2 face kisses. Need more kisses from L&E. There's always a place for an L&E kiss.
Someone, Arlene made a comment at 9:08 p.m.
Okay.
she said, what was with the old man in the wagon? Why was he that important, so important to the episode? I don't think I was thinking the same thing I was thinking about the old man. I don't think he was so important, but I think they were just reinforcing the point of not everybody back then accepted female doctors. And he was a pretty extreme example. And I got to tell you, I wouldn't have done anything to hurt him, but I would have told him, well, you know what? Go cure yourself, dude. I don't know as I would have treated him after that. But I think that was the point, to show that there was still some tension. He may show up again, but who knows?
I have a couple of things that I loved about that scene. I loved how the girls got to be together, and Hickam is with the girls because he's very much involved with Faith,
Yep.
with Fiona, and with
May.
May. Like, he's always around. And I loved how they roped him in and he had to pretend he was the doctor. It
Yep.
was great. The whole thing was great. I love
And
them.
he knew nothing, and it was so obvious he knew nothing. And this old dude, this old man, could care less. It was so obvious. What a stupid doctor he must be. But he was a male, so that's all that counted.
I love, though, well, here was my idea. Remember, she said he's probably dehydrated and malnourished. I'm thinking, I have a couple of predictions that made me think about this. I'm thinking it has something to do with the lack of water and resources from where Harry is from Eagle Rock. Is that what it's called? Eagle
Something.
Eagle Rock, I think. Correct
It
me.
used to be Eagle River, but they had to change it when it dried up. Now it's just Eagle Rock. I wonder if that's going to turn out to be Harry's grandfather or something.
Wait, I don't know. But here's the thing. I was thinking to myself,
Eagle Creek.
Eagle Creek.
That's not so much anymore either.
All right. I'm sorry. The Eagle Rock turned out to be a rock because it dried up. That is not funny. People have gone through. I'm sorry. People have gone through droughts. We're being rude. I don't mean to be rude. It was just hilarious to me. All right, back up. I'm wondering, now that Montague is in town, I know I skipped to this because I was thinking about Harry and Eagle Creek. Now that Montague's in town, when Harry lays eyes on him, I'm wondering if he's going to say, what's that guy doing here?
I'm wondering. I'm wondering if when shut up. I'm wondering if when Harry lays eyes on Rosaline, are we going to see Jesse and Clara 2.0?
Oh my God! I was trying to talk about something else. Okay. Do you think the actress Rosaline will get to stay?
I don't know. They need that gap filled. They don't have a young, couple with a guy who's, troublemaker with a heart of gold. I don't know. Who knows?
You know what,
Chris? I think she's going to stick around long enough to come to some resolution with Henry.
Oh, I do too, but I would love it if she stayed. That would be
great.
I
do too. I think they need to have that couple. I mean, I loved that storyline when Jesse was the bad guy, and then he changed with the love of the town and his friends and a good woman. I wouldn't mind seeing that again, as long as Rosaline and Harry had chemistry.
The actress's name is Mamie, and you can't find out who her peeps are because I wanted her to come on, but it's like Fort Knox. But she's the singer. She actually has records out and everything.
Oh,
just a little. I should do a highlight of her next week if we don't have someone come on. All right, Chris, I must apologize to you. This is a fabulous question, and I wish we had asked Allie this question. With Erin Krakow as a producer, does she sit on the various readings of the writing? I wish I didn't even see that, and I apologize. Excellent question. I might have an opportunity to pass it on to Allie anyway. Okay. How would you describe it? Okay. Who is Toby? Yeah, we did that. What's this? Season 7, Eleni talking before the parties for Jesse and Clara. Lucas sold everyone likes a good surprise. And Liz says, I know I do. Why now she is so down on Lucas for his surprises. Because he did a lot of, it wasn't so much surprises, they're calling them now, but he did a lot of grand gestures. And remember, she was trying to tell him, let's be realistic. Like I feel like maybe she might get uncomfortable by it too.
Yeah.
I have a friend, she's on here. Her husband did all kinds of amazing things like that. And I know they were comfortable with it, but some people just aren't.
Yeah, imagine if your significant other just came to you and said, "Oh, I bought you a house." Well, yeah, surprise, but still, you want to pick your own house. You want something that you're invested in that you like. That's kind of a inappropriate thing to do.
Yeah. And Nikki was saying, and they were talking about Chris, the actor, is allergic to caffeine. I know he's very sensitive to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's caffeine in tea too, though.
Yes, there is. So I think he's just very careful about what he does. Like an herbal tea would have less caffeine in it. You know what I mean? I just think he's sensitive to caffeine. I
Mm,
remember him talking about it. Yes, Avis, so was I. I was so happy to see the actual library, not that mentioning they were going, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and they're talking about how you can see the skirts are getting shorter, especially with the guests. Deb is saying, why has there not been as much romance between Lucas and Elizabeth now that they're engaged? We talked about that. We addressed it. Oh, and they're laughing, and Lillian with Hickam. Yeah. Okay, let's see. So interesting hearing about the When Calls the Heart production process. Thank you. Question: how significant is Molly's previous comment to Flo that with Bill, it's all about the long game?
I would absolutely love it if it turns out Bill has been on to her all along. And she and her so-called late husband try to, come into town and crow about how they got it over on Bill. And Bill says, not so quick. I would absolutely love that. And I wouldn't put it past Bill. He's a crafty little guy.
Yeah. All right. Margaret's unhappy with Lucas and Elizabeth this season. Lucas is what the young people call a
Simp.
SIMP.
A simp.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a simp. If you find any more simps like that, send them my way.
Nikki, can I have Peter come on? I don't know that he likes to come on the podcast. I know that he has for the official, but that's because John Tinker, I remember him saying he was going to make sure that's how Chris came on and stuff. That he would say, "Hey, Lucas, I want you on. I mean, Chris, I want you on. Peter, I want you on this one on."
I think he's
And
probably a member though of both the
oh,
Actors Guild and the
he
directors.
absolutely
So he
is.
couldn't
Yeah.
anyway.
He's a big union guy, so I
Mhm.
wouldn't even ask.
Look
Although I do adore
for
him.
the Union Lane.
Yeah. What is it with Nathan and Faith? What is in his way? Elizabeth, again, we
No, it's
talked
not
about.
Elizabeth, but we don't know yet. That's a story that I think is going to unfold for the rest of season 10 and maybe 11.
Um, this is true. Elizabeth was always the one who brought all people together. That's not what it is bothering me. It's true. I agree. Like she always is weaved into the storylines. I get that. Let's see what Starla's saying. She always has something good to say. She's saying the frustration is that Elizabeth has all this time with everyone but Lucas. Even their sweet scenes lack substance.
I don't know as I agree with that. I mean, I guess it depends on how you define their sweet scenes. To me, them having them having a conversation about sharing her mind about what she likes and what she doesn't like, and him doing the same. I think that is just cementing their relationship.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. Viola, I was shocked about the breakup. I'm wondering if Carson is in the way or that once Nathan is placed in a dangerous situation, Faith will change. I think it wasn't.
Or vice versa.
Yes. Yes. I don't think it's Faith who had the something between them. It's Nathan who does. And he talks more about it. And again, I don't think it's more like a person. It's not Elizabeth. I think it's maybe like you said, something in the past even more so, or just in general, your whole heart getting hurt, or I'm not sure, you know. I think Faith knows Nathan needs to heal and to find his happiness outside of a relationship first before he can have a love interest.
That's pretty deep. Yeah, I
That's
don't
good,
disagree with that.
Christina. Yeah. At first, I thought it could be because of the ethical situation by not dating a patient, but Nathan has a new doctor now in another town. That's true, and they've addressed that. Yes. Okay. That is me, is her being happy for her friend. Yes. I think Nathan is just a dork when it comes to women. He needs some help from Lucas, not Bill, though, because he's just got taken by the
Maybe,
Wait,
maybe.
wait, I have to tell you, they're kind of dorky together. Like, he's always so, "Who are you?" He pulls up to the cabin, and the guy, and we all know that that poor woman does not want to be married to Montague. I don't even know if they really are. I think that's a forced thing.
Yeah.
And Montague already is digging holes and doing crazy stuff to the place and all of that. He's not a good man. All right. Let's see. That comment, "get a room." Well, that's what we'll be saying if there was a lot of smooching.
Yep.
Nate Margaret says she doesn't need kissing, but he is acting like a wimp and not being a strong character. Who? Lucas?
I don't get that at all.
I don't get that at all.
What would make him a strong character? What would you like to see him doing
Yeah.
that would unwimp him, Margaret?
Robin S14. That would unwimp him. I love that. Nathan is still struggling with himself and his past interests. Elizabeth and May. He is.
And then whoever might have come before Elizabeth
Yeah.
might have.
Yeah. Victoria's saying she doesn't think they are flipping it either. And I'm a Team Nathan person. Oh, listen here. There's so much stuff out there. There was a whole podcast about it, and they were relating it to how, I think they were relating it to Anne of Green Gables, and they were saying, "Oh, and Anne of Green
Gilbert.
wait, Anne of Green Gables, she wasn't going to marry, she was marrying someone else, and then she married Gilbert." And I said, first of all, back up. I love Anne of Green Gables.
The
And
original one, the real one.
Gilbert and Anne, they grew up together. They saved each other's lives at different points. They were there for the deaths of people in their family. They were there for, the whole women can't do anything. He supported her. There was a lot. I mean, the guy went off to war. There was a lot that went down. You knew they were endgame. That is not what's happening here. And then for a hiccup, she's engaged to somebody else. That was no,
Yeah.
you knew that was never happening. That is not the same comparison. I didn't even fully watch what people were saying about that, but someone was telling me. So I in all honesty, I didn't watch them or what was being said, but you cannot compare that to Anne of Green Gables. Sorry. All right, Martha's saying Lucas and Elizabeth are going to have more ups and downs. That's life. They love each other and they will be okay. They will. They've already showed how they've connected as family. I want a perspective out here. They're going to start Rosemary and Lee are going to start thinking about who should be the godfather to their baby. And I want to see what you all have to say. And are we coming to an end?
Oh gosh.
Cindy says no, sorry, I'm splitting my attention between you guys, and the Bills game. Cindy.
Rona thinks Lucas will be the godfather. And Nikki thinks it'll be Lucas. Oh no, Nikki believes it'll be Henry. Martha thinks it'll be Lucas as well. Carrie thinks it'll be, so we got 2 for Henry and 2 for Lucas.
Why not Joseph?
Why Joseph?
Their families are close. The kids are together. I feel like if anybody's close to remember he said if there's no one else I'd rather share my business with.
He didn't say there's nobody else I'd rather share my Goldie with.
Well, I mean, your business partner is like bringing you in. You trust them financially. Something goes down, your whole livelihood is gone. I don't know. I don't know.
Henry, because he needs that step to self-redemption.
Henry and Henry used to have he used to work, remember, for Lee, and they had a relationship.
Mhm.
So I don't know. It's who knows. We'll see where that storyline goes. But they start talking about it, and Henry did cross my mind. Let's see, Neil, who is the showrunner. Neil said she wasn't thinking of Jack when she turned down the house idea, just the idea of moving and change. Okay, Starla, I got it. I can see that. But Elizabeth should be discussing this with Lucas. He will be the only father that LJ ever knows.
We don't know that that conversation won't happen.
They did talk together about what happened. She did not seek out Nathan. She happened to be standing there thinking about something. She was actually helping her best friend give birth. She's outside. Remember, she was dumping water and doing whatever. And he was there. And she's like, tell me, when did Allie start asking questions? And he's like, well, right away. She was 4 when she lost her mother. And she's like, okay, that was the conversation. She did have her conversation with little Jack with Lucas.
No, you're talking about Nathan. You're talking about a conversation you had with Nathan.
She was saying, what I'm trying to say is, they were saying that she should be having this. Nikki's saying she should be talking to Lucas because he'll be the father. She did talk with him. He did say something about him asking questions or wouldn't take off the hat or whatever. There was a quick conversation, but she could have the conversation with Nathan. It was just something she was thinking about. She could have a conversation with both of them. Someone's agreeing with you. We love that. She did tell Lucas that when you love, you will always love, or something to that effect. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're talking about with the thing. Okay. In the interview with Chris McNally, way back during the rise of the Pink Ladies, he said eventually it all works out and comes around. So there will be a wedding just possibly next season. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah. I loved her excitement with the radio. Me too.
So
I know.
apparently she liked that surprise.
They're saying this is drama. They'll want drama. Okay. All right. So I had a question. What was my question? I wanted to know. I put like who would be the godfather, right? All right, friends, we're winding down. I don't know about you, but I am so exhausted. There's so many
Yeah.
new comments on here. Yes, maybe Nathan and Fiona will get together. Joseph taking on more church duties, what the other towns, will lead him to some vital information on the water drying up. I agree, Arlene.
I think all the guys will be involved in some way or another with figuring out what happened to Eagle Creek / Rock. And I think Fiona will horn in on that, as she always does when the guys get together trying to solve a mystery.
Yeah. You had said that before, and you think they'll all come together as a unit. Kevin and Kayla have said they do not want to be paired up on the show as a couple in a few Facebook Lives before the season started. Lisa, I've never heard. Actually, I talked to both of them personally about that, and they're up for anything. It's not up to them. I mean, they played in, 2 movies together where they were a couple. They enjoyed it, and they have really good chemistry. I feel like, believe it or not, the characters they play on When Calls the Heart had more chemistry than the characters they were in their 2 movies. I love the idea of them together, and because they're funny. Like, she's so itchy and challenges him, and they're funny together. How she teases him. I think they have some electric chemistry. I saw it last season, even when she's nervous and she takes his food right from his hand and starts eating it. Remember the gooey butter cake?
That's cute, yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing them together. Let's see. Nikki's correcting. I mean, when you said that Elizabeth needs to talk to little Jack about his dad, she also apologized to Lucas about never talking to him about Jack, not when she was talking to Nathan. Okay. Gotcha. No, Eric Greco in a Facebook Live before the season started specifically said that yes, Lucas and Elizabeth do get married this season. Yeah. And Lucas is definitely running for governor. Yeah.
He may run and he may win, but I predict if that happens, he's not going to accept it.
Joseph and Minnie will be the godparents.
Elizabeth is already the godmother.
Yeah. Don't forget, Elizabeth chose godparents and guardians. Guardians are Lee and Rosemary. The godparents are her sister and Bill. So yeah, you do, but I don't think they will. I just love them together, though. I mean, that's a missed opportunity for some really great chemistry and some fun stuff.
Again, we don't know what the, if they've eliminated May and Faith, that kind of narrows down the choices. So we'll have to see what Nathan's trauma is and where he eventually ends up. We don't know that yet.
Yeah. Chris is saying Kevin and Kayla going over their lines at home was probably funny. I know. And Lisa again saying, no, I know it's just on the season. The writers asked them both, and they said they didn't want that, period. They said the right is right what they want, but they can express their opinion. And Marlene is saying, thank you. And it's nice spending time on Monday Eve with you. Thank you, Marlene.
It was nice spending time with you guys as well.
I know. It's almost an hour and a half. Allie was fabulous. I love all the little details that she shared. She's amazing.
Yep.
And I guess Scout can't come on because Scout's working right now in season 11. Well, we know, here's a spoiler. We know Scout makes it to season 11. Do you think we will ever see a flapper girl in Hope Valley? A flapper was
I might have said Rosemary would give it a shot, but she's a mother now, so I don't think that's going to happen. If we see a flapper girl, it's going to be Fiona.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe May. In the Queen of Hearts.
Maybe May. Maybe. Know what I'm excited about? Hickam is hiding and he's holding a bouquet of flowers in one of the promos.
Well, if they're not going to do Faith and Nathan, we all know he's crushing on Faith, so who knows?
I know. Maybe that spurs spurs Nathan to be like, hey, that's my woman. Wait, saw Elizabeth in pants and boots. Oh gosh. That's because I think they're going out to look at what's being dug up and do it what they're doing out there. I know. I predict Nathan ends up with Molly. I love you, Lillian. And all of you that are leaving soon to go to the reunion, enjoy and be careful because, it's on the rise, COVID. Molly and Henry. No, Molly belongs with Bill. Okay. And that's the end of that story.
Okay, Beretta.
Kathy, take note of what I said earlier about Nathan's issue.
I'm scrolling now to see what his issue is.
All right. Hickam is the best. All right, friends. I got the hiccups. Thank you so much for joining in. Remember, stop watching that clickbait.
Seriously.
Lots of money.
Yeah.
And people get all bent out of shape. Oh, Annie. Thank you, Annie.
I do see your comment, Janice, and yeah, that's a possibility.
He is just giving into everything for Elizabeth. Last night, they made the comment that he just doesn't learn, and the criticisms about the surprises. It seems silly. I feel like it's like they roll eyes like that. Like they roll eyes at Nathan and Nathan rolls eyes at Bill when he's all, and they look at each other and they make fun, Good night. Good night. Bye. Good night, Starla.
Good night, everyone.
Friends. Yes. Good
night.
Are you
going to do everybody by name? Because, we'll be here a while.
Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Mary Ellen.
Good night, Goldie.
Good night, Goldie. All right.